Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. This is Dave with the Daily Dave. And again, my name is Dave. I'm glad to be here with you. We're getting to the middle part of November. It's starting to get a little cold here in Canada. I have a sweater on. So just like in Saturday Night Live, it's a sweater weather. Yes, and we're looking towards December 1st. And you're like, well, Dave, what happens on December 1st? Well, the fact that it's dark at like 5 p.m. makes me really sad. But what makes me really happy is December 1st is the relaunch of the Daily Santa podcast. And you're like, Dave, what are you talking about? Well, in December, we do the Daily Santa podcast, which is a countdown to Christmas. For 25 days in a row, we have a podcast for kids where we get to count down to Christmas every day and talk all things North Pole, elves, news from the North Pole. Santa drops by, and it all includes this little mischievous elf, and his name is Selfie. And Selfie is a character, we'll put it that way, and Selfie likes to kind of get in and mess around with the recordings, and we have all kinds of hilarity ensues when Selfie shows up during the podcast. And we released this podcast in 2022. We have people listening to it all year round, which makes me happy. And we are re-releasing each episode for the month of December. And what's really great is we're now on a new app as well for kids. And we're going to reach out to the app creators. We're inviting them to come on in a future episode to talk about their app. So before we talk about all that, here's a little trailer for the Daily Santa podcast. If you've never heard of it before and you have kids, you know of kids, you've heard about kids, and they're interested in maybe hearing a great podcast made just for them. This isn't like a podcast for adults. No. You're allowed to listen, but this is the Daily Santa podcast. And here's the trailer, and I hope you like it. And we'll come back and talk about the app that we're now featured on and a part of, which is we're so thrilled to be included in this new app that's been around for a little while, but it's new to us, and we're happy to be there. But here's the trailer for the Daily Santa podcast. There you go.
Welcome to the Daily Santa Podcast. This is your countdown to Christmas. We are so happy that you are here. Santa and his team will update you every day on all things Christmas. Visit dailysantapodcast.com for all the details. Subscribe and follow with your parents' help so that you don't miss a single day. Stay on the good list with great tips from Santa and more, right here on the Daily Santa Podcast.
I'm Selfie. I am Santa's elf in charge of all things social media. Welcome to the podcast. Yay!
The Daily Santa Podcast is a daily podcast starting on December 1st. A daily episode will bring you news from the North Pole, updates from the toy shop. Santa will answer your questions. Selfie, Santa's social media elf.
Wait a minute. My name is Selfie. I think he's talking about me.
Selfie will share fun stories about Santa. Santa has a special challenge every day for you on how you can stay on the good list. This is a podcast for kids, but your parents could listen too. The Daily Santa Podcast starts December 1st. Visit dailysantapodcast.com for more. My name is Twinkle, the voiceover guy. The Daily Santa Podcast will be a lot of fun. Merry Christmas to you. Subscribe today.
Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho.
So there you go. That was the trailer for the Daily Santa podcast. I would love for you to share that podcast with a family, with yourself, with your kids, your friends, your family, your neighbors, the parents in the pickup line at school at the end of the day. Let them know about the Daily Santa podcast. And again, even if you're not a Santa person, as far as all things Santa, the beautiful thing is every episode focuses on how we, as parents and as kids, can be better humans. So that's the goal, to stay on Santa's nice list, because he's always watching. But we want to be a good person. So how do we do that? And you find out more on the Daily Santa podcast as we count down 25 episodes in a row. Daily episodes, counting down to Christmas. This is a Daily Santa podcast. So there you go. So I would love for you to join us there. But the other part of this episode that I was excited about is that we're talking about an app that's new to us, but really excited to be a part of. It's called the KidsPod App. And you can find it at kidspod.app online. Our links in the show notes. You can also find it on your Apple Store, your Google Store for your apps. Download it, add it to your phone, and your kids can now listen to great curated kids podcasts right there on the phone. It's amazing. So we're there, and we're so thrilled. So here's a little information that I found online about the app, and I'll play it for you here, and then I'll come back and read you the press release, also found on kidspod.app website. But here's a little bit more about the KidsPod app.
I started looking for a podcast app for my kids a few months ago, but was shocked when I could only find a few options that were either not that great or came with a premium price tag. It's then that my mom brain and my marketing brain and my social justice brain combined and KidsPod was born. As a mom, I know exactly what I want a kids podcast player to be. And as a market researcher, I know that there's a place for it and that the potential is huge. As someone who's really passionate about education inequality, I knew that if something didn't change, a lot of kids were gonna miss out on the power of audio. KidsPod is gonna do 3 things. First, our platform and design is gonna make it fun, intuitive, and cool for everyone in the family to use. Next, we know we need to grow the market. We're gonna harness the power of social media and our branding expertise and really take kids podcasts mainstream. Lastly, we wanna take kids podcasts to the next level. We have so many awesome ideas on how to make it an interactive experience and connect them to all the great things that content creators are already offering online.
So reading from the kidspod.app website, the press release dated June 22nd, 2023, relatively new, right? Tech startup KidsPod Co. is thrilled to announce the launch of the KidsPod mobile app, a new podcast platform that revolutionizes listening for kids ages 3 to 13. Designed and developed in partnership with kids tech expert Dubit Limited, the app is the first of its kind to present over 300 kids podcasts in a visual, intuitive, and safe way. Founded by parents who were frustrated by the lack of accessibility and discoverability in the kids genre, KidsPod's mission is to connect families all over the world to the power of audio. And here's a quote from them. "We believe podcasts benefit children and adults in much the same way," said Jessica Ray, CEO and co-founder. "But for kids who learn by listening more so than reading, they are absolutely transformational. Kids podcasts democratize the internet and education in a way unlike anything else. They are also a great parenting hack. Absolute guilt-free screen time." I think all of us as parents would like to have our kids have a little less screen time. With 71% of parents concerned that their child is spending way too much time on screens, many will find KidsPod an easy way to cut down on screen time while still using a device. KidsPod offers both free and paid subscription options. The free option includes unlimited listening to every show on the app and follows the founder's commitment to keeping kids podcasts open and available to all. The paid version, $4.99 per month, as the time of me reading this, $34.99 per year, unlocks additional listening features like individual user profiles, a favorites library, offline listening, playlist creation, and one of the most innovative features, an in-app coloring book. Right? Okay. Just like adults, kids like to multitask while they listen, said co-founder and head of content, Rachel Lacey. Podcast creators are already publishing coloring pages and activities on their websites, but that's one more thing a child can't safely access on their own. We have coloring sheets for the Daily Santa podcast. Exactly. This is right. By bringing those resources into the app, kids can color or doodle as they listen without needing an adult. Rachel adds, while we fell in love with the screen-free nature of audio entertainment, making podcasts more interactive helps audio compete with streaming and gaming when kids do have a device in hand. The company hopes to amplify the growth of the kids genre and highlight the untapped potential for responsible advertising in the space. According to nonprofit Kids Listen, nearly half of kid listeners tune in daily, and kids podcasts are by far the most trusted media for recommendations among parents. Can I say that again? Nearly half of kid listeners tune in daily, and kids podcasts are by far the most trusted media, wow, for recommendations among parents. KidsPod's top priority is making the kid space more interactive and helping podcasters monetize more effectively. KidsPod app is available for download on iOS and Android devices. And to learn more about the KidsPod and its exciting features, or podcasters who have kid podcasts, are you listening to me? To submit a podcast for inclusion on the platform, please visit KidsPod.app. And all the information is on the website. And I went through the process. I applied around 3 a.m. because I was at work. And this afternoon, the next day, I was approved. And my podcast is already there. So it's quick. It's super quick. And I love that they verify who you are. They verify your podcast. It's a good check and balance. So I completely feel totally thrilled and excited and proud to promote KidsPod app to you as a podcast creator, as a parent with kids, and you're looking for your screen-free alternative to screen time. It's KidsPod. That's it. This is what it is. So here's a little bit more. And we've reached out to KidsPod to have them on here and talk more about the app and everything behind it. Would love to have them on. And we'll have links to everything in the show notes. Would love for you to go check it out. Go download it today and take a walk around, take a listen, and see what you think. I would love to get your feedback, too. Over on the How to Podcast website, there's my little speak pipe. Give your review of the KidsPod app. What do you think as a parent? What do you think as a podcaster with a kids podcast? Would love to get your feedback as well. howtopodcast.ca. Here's a little bit more about KidsPod, and we'll close up in a moment. Thanks for being here.
We regularly add new podcasts to the KidsPod app. If you want to see what we've added, go to the recently added section and click the down arrow. Today, I added a podcast called Daydreaming, a storytelling podcast with original stories narrated by professionals. With adventure stories and fun sound effects, you'll love it.
So the Daily Santa podcast begins December 1st. We're running all the way through to December 25th. So excited to be back for another season, another Christmas season of the Daily Santa podcast. Most amazingly found on the KidsPod app, but you can also find us on all your other players as well. But if you want a kid-friendly environment for your kids to be on, KidsPod is where it's at. And we're going to have these guys on in the future, we hope, and talk more about this amazing app. If you're thinking about starting a podcast and you don't know what to do, maybe a kids podcast would be the perfect thing for you to consider as a new podcaster. Are you good at telling stories? Are you good at creating a kids-safe environment? for podcasts, this could be the perfect podcast for you, or the perfect second podcast for you. Consider it. That's why I created the Daily Santa podcast, is I wanted to put something out for kids, and I think it's something we need more of. And the KidsPod app highlights great creators in the space, and I would love to see your podcast there. If you have any questions about KidsPod, about the Daily Santa podcast, about podcasting, howtopodcast.ca. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Merry Christmas!